In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the benefits of using Coursera, this website which offers fantastic online courses. And on this website, there are thousands of different courses on there for all different types of topics. And also different types of courses. So you might have some which are single courses and quite short, then some specialization ones with a bit more detail. Then you also have ones which have professional certificates given to you at the end of it, or even master track certificates, which are part of a master's degree program. And finally, you could even do full degree courses on Coursera. So as you can see, there's a wide range of different options for you when using Coursera, depending on your particular needs. Now, for this channel, I focus more on the short to medium length courses, just because I know that most people don't have a year or years to spend focusing on a full-on degree on Coursera. So focusing on that in a month to 2 to 3 months is more manageable. So what you'll often see is when you click on each course, it'll give you an estimated time. So they might say, if you're doing 10 hours per week on this course, it'll take you roughly 2 to 3 months to complete, so roughly 100 hours. And if you break that down, that's not too bad actually. Let's say you can manage to fit into your schedule 1 hour per night on Monday to Friday, that's now 5 hours. And then on the weekend, let's say you have more spare time and you can get 2.5 hours per day. Well, right there, you've done your 10 hours per week and you'll in 2 or 3 months complete these big courses. And actually what you'll find is it might take you less time than that because a lot of the content on these courses are videos. And what I do personally is I watch mine on, let's say, ×2 speed, or if it's more complex, potentially ×1.5. But by doing that, of course, you get through it a lot quicker. Okay, so let's break down a bit more now how it actually works, these courses. So firstly, once you pick the one you want to start, it will say there, click here to enroll. So once you've enrolled and now you've started, this is the best thing about Coursera. Not only do you get these great videos from these professors and these individuals, but you get assessments, and often they're self-marked assessments. And if you're doing, for example, anything more coding or mathematical, you also get self-marked labs where you put in the code yourself and gets marked for you. And this is so key to learning. If you have already watched my video about this, where I discussed, for example, retrieval practice, you will know that it's key to when you're actually learning something new, you actually have to yourself try and do it yourself and reproduce what you just learned. And this ultimately is why, for me, it's a complete no-brainer to be using Coursera over, let's say, YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong, there's fantastic content on YouTube, probably, if anything, equally good to the content on Coursera. But here's a problem with watching YouTube videos for more demanding topics. What you haven't got with those videos is a way to self-test yourself. So here's an example. Let's say on your YouTube, you're watching videos on how to, say, learn some coding, or you might be doing some machine learning stuff, for example. Well, the problem here is these are pretty hard concepts to learn. And if you're simply just watching someone else write lines of code, and even if they are explaining it very nice and very slow and clearly, the problem is you simply just watching someone write down stuff for potentially 5 to 10 hours or more. It just won't stay in your brain. And ultimately, sadly, you won't retain or learn much of it at all. Now, what you can do in this scenario, and what I've done in the past, is when watching a YouTube video, is to every line of code, let's say, in this scenario, to pause it, you do it yourself, they do it, you do it yourself. And although that's better than you doing nothing, because writing stuff down does help your memory slightly, it's a common technique used when you're back at school, but just writing down, sadly, isn't the optimal way. You have to physically test your brain to reproduce stuff without looking. So that's why watching stuff on YouTube ultimately might just blow you away. Whereas doing the Coursera courses, you're constantly in bite sizes, testing your knowledge, and having to also pass these tests to get to the next stage sometimes. So that is, I'm telling you, why it's so more effective than simply watching YouTube videos. Okay, so hopefully we can see that these Coursera courses are going to be beneficial to your learning. But what are the drawbacks? And the main one ultimately is this, that they're not all free, sadly. So what might happen is the course that you found and you love, well, sadly, it's not a free one. It has a cost to it. And here in the UK, the cost for most of these medium length courses is £39 per month. And just to clarify, at this price, it is just for that one course which you paid for. It's not for the whole website, it's one course. Now, what you can do is pay for Coursera Plus, at I think roughly £47 per month in the UK. And they'll offer you, many courses as part of this package, which used to be ones you had to pay for. However, just to make you aware, it does not include all of the paid courses. So just double check that the one you want is in there before you buy the plus in the hope to use those courses. So how can we get around this slightly if you don't want to be paying almost £40 every single month for one course? Well, ultimately, with these courses, you can cancel them at any time. Now, what will happen is if you cancel, you will lose all the access to the materials in that course. So what I recommend you do here is just simply download the material whilst you're doing it onto your laptop or onto a hard drive. So this way, you pay your £40, but at least after that, that's the last payment. Now, this will mean that you won't have access to those tests anymore, but ultimately, is doing a few tests here and there going to be worth you paying per month £40 extra? That's up to you. For me personally, whilst doing it once and having all the material saved in my hard drive, that for me is good enough. Now, there might actually be an even sneakier way of doing this, because all of these paid courses give you the first 7 days for free, and you can cancel at any time in those first 7 days. So what you can do is, in theory, is in those 7 days, download everything and then simply just cancel it. And there you go, you've got all the material for free. But there is a downside to doing this, and there's two downsides. The first one is, well look, the whole point of using Coursera was to have this idea of you doing material, then being tested on it, doing more content, being tested more on it, and you keep going. So the problem here is, if you simply download everything and then just cancel, then you've lost access to those tests. So at that point, you might as well have just used YouTube. So for me in that scenario, it's probably worth paying for 1 month to use the tests when you're ready for them, and then cancel there, then cancel in the first 7 days. And the second biggest issue for doing this is linked to the certificates. So a big part of using Coursera is actually to progress your career and your CV. Think of a scenario where you want to have extra proof on your CV that you have a qualification to prove that you can do a certain new skill. Or let's say you're changing slightly your career path and you want to have some proof again that you can do this new job. Well, that's where these Coursera certificates are very useful, and they are also well respected. Because remember, a lot of these courses are actually run by Harvard, Yale, Oxford professors. So they're no joke. They're all good content. And the problem here with the cancelling in the first 7 days technique we have is that you don't get access to the certificates, okay? You don't get them. You have to have paid for at least 1 month to be able to claim that certificate. So if it's important to you to show your potential new employers that you have actually officially had and completed this course, you will sadly have to pay at least 1 month for that course. But what I would say is this, just compare it to how much you would pay for a degree. Most degrees, let's say again in the UK, will cost you probably 30, 40, 50,000 pounds. So in the grand scheme of things, paying £40 to prove that you've done this course, which might, by the way, be a 3, 4, 5 month course, in the grand scheme of things, is very little compared to what you would be paying for a full-on degree. Anyway, hopefully this video will have sparked your interest and you might enroll in one of these courses. I'm actually right now doing a course on Coursera on negotiation and how to negotiate, as that I believe is a very key skill to have in life for many reasons. Could be to negotiate your salary at work. It could be, if you have your own company, to when you want to sell it, or if you want to buy a company, or if you're merging companies. There are many different scenarios where it's important to negotiate. So that there is one example of what useful skills you can pick up from using these Coursera courses. So if you do end up picking a Coursera course, please leave in the comments which one you picked. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and bell notification. Feel free to leave any comments and any suggestions for future content. And as ever, onwards and upwards.